This Saturday, June 22nd, MLB Betting Picks edition of the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times your entry with their new Pick 8. Sign up with promo code MLB SGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Make sure you use that promo code MLB SGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Welcome, everyone, to the MLB Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Here to get into the picks for the Saturday card on the Diamond. Got about 12 to 13 games that we do have lines available for right now. We'll go through every game, give you our lock and dog, and of course, our newest segment that we introduced this week, Daily Dingers. I think I like that the best, the name. We'll give you our home run picks for the Saturday games as well. But joining me here to help me break everything down, got my guy here with me. It's Scott Reichel. Scott, what's going on, my man? How you doing?
Yeah, keep me busy. Tennis and soccer kept me entertained this morning and through the afternoon. So, unfortunately, the last game was a 0-0 snooze fest, but it is what it is. Hopefully, the games tomorrow are more competitive. Can't complain, though. A lot of games on the card. Looking forward to them.
Yeah, got a lot of sports going on throughout the weekend. Obviously, like you mentioned, with the Euros and Copa America, that kicked off last night. I believe it was in Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken. Argentina got the 2-0 victory there. So yeah, a lot of football going on this weekend, and obviously MLB, got some UFC. You mentioned tennis, of course, as well. So still a lot of sports, even though we are in the dog days of the summer, counting down to college football season, and of course the NFL season as well. But still, obviously, a lot to get to for the baseball season here. And Saturday, which usually means we get the start early, and we'll get it started here. Let's just get right into it. 1:10 Eastern start time. The Chicago White Sox, they are in Detroit to take on the Tigers. I'm seeing Drew Thorpe getting the start here for the White Sox. It'll be Kenton Maeda for the Detroit Tigers. Tigers are a -155 home favorite here, +130 on the money line for the White Sox here. Scott, total is at 9. What are your thoughts on the White Sox and the Tigers?
Yeah, so both pitchers so far this season have not been very good. Maeda has a larger sample size, but once again, both pitchers have not been good. So I consider the over, but both teams we know aren't exactly good at hitting, which is a bit of a problem when you want to bet the over. So I guess I'm going to lean over. Do I want to lay 160 with Maeda? Not really. So I guess I'm blindly considering the White Sox, but there's no way I'm actually going to bet the White Sox. So maybe a White Sox team total over. First 5 team total over, just fade Maeda by himself. But I mean, I feel like this is a go to a meeting game, unless you want like to go for some niche overplay, because these pitchers aren't very good. We know the offenses aren't very good. Detroit is a lot better than Chicago, but they're not 160 and change like worthy ever in any game. So I guess I'm going to lean to the White Sox team total over. I'll fade Maeda, but there's really not much value in this game besides maybe the over. And you hope these two bad offenses show up for a game.
Yeah, Thorpe had a good start against the Mariners, but I know they're a team that's really been inconsistent on the offensive side of things. 5 innings, 1 earned run, but he followed that up with getting blasted by the Arizona Diamondbacks in Arizona. In fact, 7 earned runs. He gave up 5 walks in that game as well. 3 1/3 he only lasted, and they lost both the starts that he has made for the White Sox. So no surprise there. Maeda has been a guy that I really wanted to fade at home, on the road, and that's really worked out thus far this season, or if you just want to fade him overall. But I mean, like you mentioned, I have no interest right now laying this type of number with Maeda, who has not been very good on the season. Just 2-3 in 12 starts, 6.02 ERA. Has been better at Detroit. I'll mention that he is 2-1 with a 3.38 ERA. But on the road this far this season, 0-2 with a 9.90 ERA. I don't think he's faced this White Sox team this season. Let me just double check that. But again, like you mentioned, do you really want to lay this type of number with Maeda and Tigers? And my answer is absolutely no as well. If you look at the first 5 over, again, with how bad these teams have been, or how bad these pitchers have been, especially recently, it couldn't talk you off of that. Maeda actually did have a start against this White Sox team in Chicago where he only lasted 3 1/3, 7 hits he gave up in that game, 6 earned runs, 3 home runs. He did give up to 1 walk. So I think maybe a first 5 over may be in order, just really fading both of these pitchers to start this Saturday card here. Before we move it along here, Scott, let me tell everyone about the countdown to football season is officially on, and SGPN has you covered. The college football experience is doing individual team previews for every college football team. Plus, SGPN's 5-minute fantasy football podcast is your quick and dirty podcast, getting you prepared for all things fantasy. So make sure you guys check out the college football experience and the new 5-minute fantasy football podcast. All right, we'll keep it moving here. The next game on the schedule is going to be a 2:15 Eastern start time. The San Francisco Giants, they are taking on the Cardinals. Jordan Hicks getting the start here for the Giants, and it'll be Miles Mikolas for the St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals are a slight favorite here of -115, -105 on the money line for the Giants. Total is at 8.5 in this game here. Scott, what are your thoughts on the Giants and the Cardinals?
Yeah, I think I like the first 5 under in this matchup, where both starters, I'm not sure how long they're going to go. Hicks has been notoriously bad when it comes to actually going length in starts. He just can't do it. He tends to go 5 innings as a ceiling. I think he's been solid, though, this year in general. He's been in good form lately. Mikolas, we've made fun of on this show for a while, but he's actually been good for the last month and a half. So with that being the case, we saw a high-scoring game in the neutral site yesterday. A fun game. Then again, Wynn and Palante are both bad pitchers, so I do think that some of it had to come down to the starting pitchers in that game, just not being very good. I do think you're going to end up seeing Mikolas and Hicks look pretty good here, and I think as a result, the first 5 under might be intriguing. I don't want the full game because I don't trust the Giants bullpen at all, but I do think that Mikolas and Hicks can piece together 5 innings apiece of solid baseball. And with that being the case, I do think you're looking at what should be maybe a low-scoring start to this game. So I don't mind the first 5 under in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. Mikolas has been absolutely brilliant over his last, I mean, we can go back to last 5 starts. In fact, I know 2 of them have been against the Cubs, who just can't even hit a beach ball right now. But he had a great outing against the Pirates, 7 shutout innings. Against the Astros, 6 innings, 2 earned runs he gave up in that game. And a guy that doesn't give up a lot of walks either, does Mikolas. In his career against the Giants, he's been really good, 3-1 with a 2.22 ERA, 25 strikeouts to 5 walks. And again, like you mentioned, Jordan Hicks, he's going to get you, 5 innings is probably his ceiling, but he's been pretty good as well. He did have one rough start against the Yankees, but again, that's the Yankees offense that's been really, really good thus far this season. So yeah, I couldn't talk you off of that. Maybe a full game under as well. In this game, the number's at 8.5 right now. I lean with the Cardinals here with Mikolas on the mound at -115, but do also like the under call that you made in the first 5.
That would be what, like 4.5?
Yeah,
that seems pretty high to me.
Yeah, with the 8.5 total, yeah, you'll get a 4.5 there for sure. 4:05 Eastern start time. We've got the Arizona Diamondbacks. They are in Philly to take on the Philadelphia Phillies. I am seeing Tommy Henry getting the start here for the D-backs, and it'll be Zach Wheeler for the Phillies. Phillies are a -225 home favorite, +185 on the money line for the Diamondbacks. Total is at 8.5 in this game here. Scott, what are your thoughts on D-backs and Phillies?
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go with the Phillies -1.5. I wanted to get creative with it. I wanted to maybe come up with something a bit contrarian, but I just can't do it. I don't think Henry's that good. You're going through the numbers here, 6.23 ERA. Wheeler, we know, is very solid. He's not officially in the Cy Young race because his teammate, unfortunately, is probably favored right now in Ranger Suarez, but you are looking at Wheeler having another very solid year. He also goes length. The one thing I will point out for Henry, though, is a lot better on the road than he is at home. But I do think that it is worth mentioning that Henry is still not a pitcher I fully trust by any means. Arizona's bullpen, not very good either. I think you're probably looking at the Phillies winning this game comfortably. So I'll back the Phillies, who are still one of the best teams in the league. Arizona's been hovering around 500. It's kind of what they are. They're just an average baseball team. And I do think that the Phillies should win this game by probably 2 or 3 runs. Give me the Phillies -1.5.
Yeah, Tommy Henry has faced this Phillies team, I think, twice in his career. 3 times. He did face them twice last year in 2 starts that he did make. One was in Philadelphia, where he did have a good outing, 5 2/3, 4 hits, 2 earned runs. The 2 earned runs he gave up were 2 solo home runs, and then he got blasted at home in Arizona, 4 2/3, 9 hits, 5 earned runs he gave up in that game. So pretty spot on with what you mentioned that he's been better on the road versus at home. But Zach Wheeler, he's been good to me when I've backed him at home, especially on this on the run line, like you mentioned, the -1.5. 5-3 straight up, 5-3 on the run line there as well. So the 8 starts that he's made, the run line had been covered 62.5% of the time here. So that's been a profitable angle thus far this season with Zach Wheeler at home on the run line. So couldn't talk you off of that. I know he got off to a rough start early this season, did Zach Wheeler, but they've now won, at least at home, I'm sorry, 5 straight home wins for the Phillies when Wheeler has pitched at home. And all 5 of those games, they have won by multiple runs, like you mentioned. Let me see if I can find a price on that run line right now. I know
I saw 125. So you're saving about $1.20, give or take, with the run line, which I do kind of like.
Yeah, couldn't talk you off. So yeah, agreement there on the Phillies, -1.5, with Zach Wheeler going up against Tommy Henry and the Diamondbacks. All right, we'll get over to the next game on the schedule. We'll go over to a 4:05 Eastern start time between the Tampa Bay Rays and the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm seeing Zach Eflin getting the start here for the Rays. It'll be Jared Jones for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Currently, as it stands, the Pirates are a -112, very, very slight home favorite here, -108 on the money line for the Tampa Bay Rays. Total is set at 8 in this game here. And I mentioned this on our pod here several times that anytime I see Zach Eflin on the road, that's where I really do want to fade him. He's been really good at the Trop. Even going back to last season, I know he was really, really good for this team at the Trop. Let me just go back and see if I can find those numbers. Yeah, so last year, 5-4 with a 3.77 ERA on the road. He was 11-4 with a 3.30 ERA. So I mean, not a huge difference there, but it's really been telling this season. So at the Trop, Zach Eflin 2-1 with a 2.90 ERA, and on the road this season, 8 starts, 1-3 with a 4.98 ERA for Eflin here. And Jared Jones has been, I guess, decent is the word we can say for him thus far this season. Despite having a 4-6 record, he does have a 3.76 ERA. Coming off a rough start, which was against Colorado in Colorado, so not sure how much we can really take away from that. The thing with Jared Jones is that he does give up a lot of walks, and you take a look over his last 5 games, he's allowed at least 3 walks, and for the last 5 starts, he's allowed 10 walks in 10 walks combined over his last 3 starts. And the Pirates have lost back-to-back starts that he has made over the last 2 games, which is against the Twins at home, and then, like I mentioned, against the Rockies, where they got beat 16-4. So I do think the Pirates can go along well here. Eflin, I mean, like I mentioned, on the road is where he really does get into trouble. So I'll go with the Pirates on the money line here, with Jared Jones on the mound here. Scott, what do you got?
Yeah, so I'm going to disagree. I'm going to go with Tampa in this one. Jones has been a lot better at home than on the road. I will point that out. His ERA, I believe, is in the 2s at home. You mentioned the walks. Tampa is pretty average at walking. They're 13th in the league. They are better on the road, though, at walks. I believe they're top 10, I think, in walks per game on the road. I do want to ask you, though, a trivia question. Eflin in his last 7 starts combined, how many walks has he allowed?
Zach Eflin over his last 7 starts, I'll guess 2.
The answer is 1, and it was his last start. He's the exact opposite of Jones. He doesn't walk anybody. So I don't mind an underwalk prop for Eflin and an overwalk prop for Jones. That's kind of the first look that I had. The Rays, though, have been really good when Eflin has started. You mentioned that the Pirates have lost a couple in a row with Jones pitching. Tampa's won 6 straight with Eflin starting. Now, I will admit he has not been overly dominant in those outings, but they find ways to win games. I think that Tampa and Pittsburgh are pretty similar, just based on record, but I do think that Tampa might be able to get more guys on base just based on the amount of free passes Jones gives up, and I do think that Tampa can find a way to piece together a close win. They did so in the last couple games against Minnesota, winning a couple in extras. I do think at the end of the day, I'm going to lean to Tampa. It's a close game. I think it's not going to be a blowout one way or another, but I think it's just the lack of command that Jones has that bothers me. Yeah. Eflin does give up contact, but he is pretty solid with his overall, I'd say, I'd say he does a good job of limiting free passes. And with that being the case, I just don't know if I trust Pittsburgh's offense enough to capitalize on a pretty aggressive strike thrower like Eflin. And I just wonder if Tampa will just get some guys on base, maybe steal some bases, and find ways to manufacture runs via small ball. I'm going to lean to Tampa. It's not really a strong opinion, but when you've won 6 straight with one starter and the opposing starter has been walking basically 3+ guys in almost every start, I'm going to probably lean to the road team with a bit more experience. It's going to be a close game. Probably not going to bet it, but I am looking at those walk props. Jones will probably walk 3 guys. Eflin, if you could find under half a walk, maybe it's plus money. I really like that angle. Once again, he's walked 0 guys in 6 of his last 7 starts. He has 5 walks on the entire season. That's probably worth something for plus money.
Yeah, I couldn't talk about. I think you bring a great point there for the walks, and just honestly, the Rays overall with the struggles that Jared Jones has had, locating his pitches and the amount of walks that he is giving up. All right, Scott, before we continue the conversation here for the Saturday card on the Diamond, let me tell everybody about our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Pick 8 is now live, and create entries with up to 8 picks, and Underdog will automatically double flex entries, so you can miss up to 2 picks and still win your entry. With more picks to make and extra ways to win, the excitement is higher than ever. The best part, you can win up to 325 times your original amount. You can now use specials and boosts on all flex entries. Don't miss your chance to try it out before it's gone. So sign up with promo code MLB SGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Make sure you use that promo code MLB SGPN. All right, let's get over to the next game on the schedule. We'll go over to where do we leave off? Tampa and Rays. We'll go over to the West Coast here, a 4:07 Eastern start time between the Minnesota Twins and the Oakland A's. It'll be Bailey Oberg in the start here for the Twins and JP Sears for the Oakland A's. Twins are a -170 road favorite here, +142 on the money line for the Oakland A's. Total is at 8 in this game here, Scott. What are your thoughts on the Twins and the A's?
So the Twins are 4-0 this season against Oakland, but all 4 meetings were in Minnesota, so we're going to see how they look on the road. So far this season, Minnesota's 500 on the road. They're 18-18. We know Oakland's bad. They're 21 under, but they're only 4 under at home. They're basically the Rockies, but either way, I think I'm going to lean to the A's here, getting a decent plus money price. You're looking at Sears' numbers, and they're actually basically the same as Ober's. And I think that Minnesota, once again, is not, in my opinion, worthy of being about a 170 favorite on the road. Ober's also been on the road. Has a 5.75 ERA on the road, so I don't know if I really trust him in the spot. Last couple road starts, 4 2/3, 4 runs against the Pirates, 5 innings, 3 runs against the Yankees. You go back even further. Did just face off against the A's team, though, on Sunday, and he ended up going 6 1/3, 1 run. So he pitched well against this team, but that was at home. I might be tempted by an Oakland team total over in this game. They're not a good offensive team, but they are a lot better at home than on the road offensively. So I do think that their team total might be a bit mispriced, just based on how big of a money line price it is. How you can kind of imply what the team total is going to be with the actual game total itself. I think Minnesota's too big of a favorite here. I think Sears is fine. Is he amazing? No. But I think that he can be, serviceable in this outing. At home this season, 3.31 ERA, so I do have to acknowledge he has been a lot better at home than on the road. I'm going to lean to Oakland. I think Oakland looked decent last series against Kansas City. They didn't sweep, but they actually looked pretty good the first couple games of that series. I'm going to lean to Oakland at home, getting a decent plus money price.
Yeah, that's what you mentioned, right? What sticks out about Bailey Ober is that he hasn't been very good on the road. 8 starts, 5.75 ERA, and same thing with JP Sears, especially except for the fact he's pitching in Oakland and at home in this game here. So the walks are also concerned with JP Sears. I know we just talked about with Jared Jones. JP Sears has allowed, let's see here, at least 2 walks in 4 straight starts. He's had 7 walks allowed over his last 2 starts, which was against his Twins team in Minnesota last Saturday, and then against the Padres back on Monday, June 11th, and then he gave up 2 each to the Mariners and the Braves as well. But 3 of his last 4 starts also have been on the road, like we talked about, and again, been better at home. Does have a winning record there, 3-2 with a 3.31 ERA. Couldn't talk you off over in this game. The number's at 8 right now. I think both pitchers can give it up. In this game, I think maybe a first 5, you probably get a 4 with the total of 8, or if you want to even go full game over 8, I couldn't talk you off of that. I'll lean with the A's here as well, but I think my favorite play would be the over in this game between these two teams. Next game on the schedule, we'll go over to the East Coast. We'll go with the Seattle Mariners. They are in Miami to take on the Marlins. Currently, as it stands, I am seeing Logan Gilbert getting the start here for the Mariners, and it'll be Jesus Luzardo for the Miami Marlins. Marlins are a plus 136 home underdog, minus 162 on the money line for the Seattle Mariners. Total is at 7.5 in this game here. Scott, what are your thoughts on the Mariners and the Marlins?
Yeah, so I see Luzardo 3 hours ago listed out Saturday's game with a back injury, so I don't know who's actually going to start this game for Miami. So I see that's currently up in the air. So Luzardo will not be pitching in this game. I will mention, though, Gilbert was great last time out. I believe he completely shut down Texas. He had like 7 or 8 innings scoreless. He was incredible in that start. I'm going to link to Seattle anyway, just because I think that they are the better team. Luzardo was in a up and down form. He had not been very good at home, so I was going to consider maybe an under, but with him not getting the start, I don't know who is. So with that being the case, I guess I have to lean to Gilbert and Seattle in general, just being the better team. But I, once again, kind of want to get more information on who's going to start because I am not sure who it's going to be. He had back tightness last start, pulled after 77 pitches, decreased velocity, and they decided not to use him. So, yeah, I don't know, but it's undecided right now.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's what DraftKings has listed right now. But again, like you mentioned, those types of injuries, especially with pitchers, can always be difficult. Obviously, the handicap here. I just have a tough time with this Mariners team, man, especially offensively. They just have not been having a lot of success this season, right? And they're one of the teams that strike out a lot as well. And if it was going to be Luzardo that was going to be starting, I would have loved his strikeout prop in this game against the Mariners. And the Mariners are the team over the last 2 weeks against left-handed pitching that's striking out the most at 32% as a team strikeout percentage. So, no, don't want to waste more time if it is not going to be Luzardo here. So I think it's similar to me where I'm not interested right now in laying that minus 160 plus price with the Mariners, even though it is against the Marlins. So I'll leave it at that. Let's get over to the next game on the schedule. Then we'll go over to a 4:10 Eastern start time. The Boston Red Sox, they are in Cincinnati to take on the Reds. I'm seeing Nick Pivetta getting the start here for the Red Sox, and it'll be Frankie Montas for the Cincinnati Reds. Red Sox are a minus 125 road favorite here, plus 105 on the money line for the Reds. Total is at 9 in this game here, Scott. What are your thoughts on the Reds and the Red Sox?
Yeah, so the Red Sox have actually made me a decent amount of money over the last week and a half, whether it involves stolen base props. I know I mentioned it against Gaussman, and they stole a bunch of bases in that game. And I had the team total over for steals, which is a fun market on Caesars, by the way. They have team stolen bases per game, which I do find kind of appealing. But either way, point is the Red Sox have been fun. They've hit some home runs recently, especially against Toronto when they swept. They have been really good. They steal bases, maintaining the lineup's good. Pitching staff can be a little bit consistent, but for the most part, they kind of settled in. I think I'm going to go with Boston here. I just love what I've seen from this team. We were kind of wondering what they were, and they've kind of blossomed into a fun and potentially playoff team. I think that they're solid. The Reds, we know, are not very good. They're 4 under. We thought they'd be a lot better this season, but the pitchers are kind of comparable here. Montes' numbers are not great, 4.6 ERA, and Pavetta's is better. At least with a 3.8 ERA, I believe. But do I think Pivetta is a great pitcher? Not really. Still gives up some home runs. But I do think Boston has just done a great job of finding a batting order that can really challenge you in different ways, whether it involves the speed game, the power game. It's not even Devers carrying the unit. It seems like a lot of guys are stepping up. Connor Wong's in the middle of a massive hitting streak. He's been very solid. Rafaela in the 9 spot's been really good. We're looking at, the Red Sox in general. I just like the way that they've been functioning under Cora. So I'm going to go with the Red Sox. I just think this team right now is in better form, and I like what I've seen. They've been consistent, they've been fun, and they've been winning. That's good enough for me. I'll take Boston.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned right, the stolen bases and is one huge thing for this Red Sox team, but also they're healthy now, right? They got Tyler O'Neill back, who's been hitting home runs. Devers, Yoshida's been back for this team as well, so it's been a fun lineup to watch. And the bats are hot right now. Now you're going into a ballpark which is, the temperature's warming up. We've traditionally seen overs in Cincinnati. I think it's a good opportunity for the Red Sox, and the Reds have lost for the last 5 starts that Montas has made for this team. He lost to the Brewers, the Cubs, the Cardinals. 3 division matchups that he lost, and then against the Padres as well. The one win was against Colorado, in fact, in Colorado, where he went 7 shutout innings. So go figure that. So again, I can't trust Montas. Nick Pivetta has been
Meh.
pretty good, or meh is the word, I guess, right? 4-4 with 3.88 ERA. And he can go length for you, right? 2 of his last 3 starts, he's gone at least 7 innings for this Red Sox team. So I think I trust him more than I trust, obviously, Frankie Montas. So do like the over in this game. If you want to continue to look at the Red Sox team total over, I think that's been a profitable angle as well. Scott mentioned with the stolen base and the home runs that they are hitting. So Red Sox team total over, or Red Sox money line as well in this game. Next game on the schedule, we'll go over to another 4:10 Eastern start time. The Baltimore Orioles, they are taking on the Astros in this matchup on Saturday. I am currently seeing that it will be Corbin Burnes for the Baltimore Orioles. It'll be Ronel Blanco for the Houston Astros. Orioles are a -142 road favorite here behind Burnes, and the Astros are a +120 home underdog with Blanco. Total is at 8 in this game here. Scott, what are your thoughts on Orioles and the Astros? Pretty good pitching matchup here.
Yeah, so my first thought on the game is going to go back to the steals angle, and I'm going to go with the over for Houston stolen bases. And you could probably pick specific guys, because if I asked you right now who the worst pitcher in the league is at holding on runners, I don't know if you would guess Corbin Burnes, but it's Burnes by a mile. And I feel like he's this year's Syndergaard when it comes to just allowing stolen bases. He doesn't even try to keep runners on. So I think with that being the case, Houston should try to run all over him in this start. So with that being the case, I like stolen bases quite a bit. I mentioned how bad Gausman was. Gausman's second worst in the league. Burnes is worst. So he is dead last in preventing stolen bases. I think that you're looking at Houston running all over him. I do think that Blanco is solid enough to hang in there with Burnes. So maybe I do like the first 5 under anyway. But if you want to go for a stolen base angle, you want to go for Altuve, you want to go for maybe Pena, anybody with speed, you might want to give them a try, or maybe just Houston, their team total stolen bases on Caesars, probably a 1.5, maybe a half if Caesars has fallen completely asleep at the wheel. Mm-hmm. Take that prop as well. Burnes gives up so many stolen bases per start. That's my main angle for the game.
Yeah, Blanco, I know, is coming off of throwing.
He had 7 innings, I believe.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say. They pulled up. I mean, rightfully so. I think he's already thrown a no-hitter this season, which was against the Blue Jays, if I'm not mistaken. But, I mean, he's been the best pitcher for the Astros. I mean, I don't think it's been really close. I know Hunter Brown's turned around as well, but on the season, 8-3 with a 3.44 ERA. The Astros have won each of his last 2 starts. He's gone 13 innings over his last 2 starts, combined 1 earned run, 16 strikeouts to 4 walks. Now, I know those were against some of the poorer offenses, which was the Giants and the Tigers. Now you have a red-hot offense like the Baltimore Orioles coming to town, but I want to take the home dog here. I think that's a great value there, but again, Corbin Burnes has absolutely been fantastic as well, and this is a lineup for this Orioles team right now that's firing on all cylinders. And Blanco has like those moments where he comes off a really good outing against a good offense and just gives it up. And he is the guy that also gives up walks. So I think that if the Orioles stay patient at the plate and really draw those walks, I think they can, again, put some pressure on the bases against Blanco and maybe make some mistake there that could be the difference in the game. And you just take a look over his last 4 starts. He's allowed, let's see here, 3, 6, 9 walks over the last 4 starts for the to the opposition. So maybe Orioles team total over first five. Maybe because if it's 1.5, it's probably going to be a lot of juice on it, around -140, -150 possibly. But I could see the Orioles maybe getting to him early in this game, especially coming off of the outing that he did have against the Tigers here. So I'd lean here with the first five Orioles run line or money line, or even full game. Again, we've talked a lot about how bad this bullpen has been for the Astros. So I think I'm talking myself into taking the Orioles here on full game against the Astros. Scott, before we get over to the next game on the schedule here, let me tell everyone about the newest sponsor on Sports Gambling Podcast Network. That's going to be Rhythm. And if you're betting on player props, well, you need to check out Rhythm. Rhythm is the go-to sports betting tool that transforms complex data into actionable insights, empowering bettors with smarter, data-driven decisions. Unlike other platforms, Rhythm combines advanced predictive analytics with an intuitive user experience, making betting both easy and enjoyable. Rhythm's predictive models were born from the brains of MIT data scientists and quants with over 3 years of data that help drive you to better AI-backed betting decisions. Plus, never too early to start your NFL projections. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. All right, let's keep it rolling here. Next game on the schedule here, we'll go over to let me finish the 4 o'clock window here. Toronto Blue Jays, they are in Cleveland to take on the Guardians. Jose Berrios getting the start here for the Blue Jays, and it'll be Ben Lively for the Guardians. Guardians are a -135 home favorite here, +114 for the Blue Jays. Total is at 8.5 in this game here. Scott, what are your thoughts on the Blue Jays and the Guardians?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the last time I actually took the Blue Jays on this show. I feel like I fade every time because I just can't stand this team. And I've been right more than I've been wrong. So I feel like that's been working out pretty well. For the Guardians in this matchup, though, I acknowledge they're the much better team. So we got to start off there. I do think Lively has been actually pretty good this season for some reason. Berrios, though, is one of the best pitchers on the staff. And I do have to point out that Berrios has been solid. However, I think also worth mentioning, he's been better at home on the road. His ERA is decent on the road at 3.88, but he has been a lot worse on the road than at home. Has been struggling a bit recently, though. He has given up 3+ runs in back-to-back starts. Lively, I think, is fine. As I said before, I think I am going to lean to Cleveland in this one. I just think that they're the better team. Toronto's bullpen's a mess, so even if the game's close, Cleveland's bullpen's the best in the league. So I do think that if this game is going to be a nail-biter, maybe in theory it goes to extras or it's a one-run game late, I trust Cleveland a lot more than Toronto in the last 3 innings of this game. So I'm going to go with Cleveland in this one. Lively's randomly been good. I don't think anybody saw that coming. But I think Berrios will be fine. But I think if the game's close, I think Toronto's bullpen's going to give him some issues. So I'll go with Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what you mentioned. That bullpen is the part that makes me nervous about the Blue Jays. Lively's been, he's been pretty solid. 6-3 with a 3.02 ERA. Take a look at his home numbers for Cleveland. 4 starts at home, 3-0 with a 1.90 ERA. And I just don't have a lot of trust in the Blue Jays offense as well. Not a lot of guys that put fear in me if I'm a pitcher. Maybe Vlad, but he's been underwhelming this season as well. You mentioned a number about Berrios on the road, 8 starts, 2-4 with a 3.88 ERA. So yeah, I'm on the Guardians here. Keep it simple here. Lively at home has been fantastic, and we'll stick to that train with Ben Lively and the Cleveland Guardians -135 on the money line. Getting to the nightcap here, a 7:15 Eastern start time. This will be the primetime game on Fox. The Atlanta Braves, they are in the Bronx to take on the New York Yankees. Charlie Morton gets started here for the Braves, and it'll be Marcus Stroman for the New York Yankees. Yankees are a -142 home favorite, +120 on the money line for the Braves. Total is at 8.5 in this game here, Scott. Braves, Yankees, what are you thinking?
So for this one, I might actually lean to Atlanta, but I might be tempted by the over in this game. Stroman, even though I like him in general, his numbers this season have been good, he's been a lot more vulnerable recently. And we saw Boston steal a bunch of bases against him. He was not very good in that outing. He was good against Kansas City. He struggled against Minnesota. He's kind of been up and down recently. He has been worse on the road. He has a 4.12 ERA. Stroman's also a pitcher that allows a ton of stolen bases. So if you do want to go for Atlanta, I am going to warn you, they don't steal any bases. Fourth fewest in the league. But if you wanted to make an argument, maybe one or two guys can find a way to steal Albies, somebody. But we saw Stroman. We saw the Red Sox steal 9 bases. None of them were against Stroman, but the point is he can't really keep runners on. He's also one of the worst in the league. But I think Stroman's going to be in a bit of trouble here. Atlanta's offense has been better lately. The Yankees' offense has been fine, but the bullpen's been kind of deteriorating recently. And I do think the Yankees offensively should look fine against Morton. They've seen Morton a decent amount. He's been in the league for an eternity anyway. I'm going to link to the over in this game. I could see runs here. It's in Yankee Stadium, Hitters-Friendly Park, but I think Morton is in a line to potentially struggle in this outing. He's been up and down well. Last road start, though, it shelled by the Nationals. He's been very good at home recently, but I do think that Morton and Stroman are going to have guys on base all the time in this game. So I'll go with the over. I see runs.
Yeah, Stroman's been struggling at Yankee Stadium, right? 7 starts, 1-2 with a 4.12 ERA. You compare that to his road ERA at 2.18. And I agree with you. I think there's going to be one of these games that we see runs being put up. And I think this might just be the game between these two pitchers. And Stroman is a guy that, again, you mentioned the stolen bases that the Red Sox were able to get off of him. But he also does issue a lot of walks as well, right? He's had at least 2 walks in 4 straight games over his last 2 starts. And I know they were on the road. 7 walks he gave up in the last 2 starts against the Red Sox and the Kansas City Royals. Morton has actually been pretty good on the road. He's been better on the road this season than he's been in Atlanta. 6 starts he's made on the road, 2-1 with a 3.67 ERA. But again, I think that this might be an opportunity for the offense of the Yankees to get to him a little bit. I know he's coming off a great start, which was against the Tampa Bay Rays. And anytime he has a great start, he follows that up with a bad start. So I think that there's been a little bit of a pattern here, at least over his last 5 starts. Because if you take a look against the Cubs, 5 innings, 1 earned run, came back against the Nationals, 5 2/3, 8 earned runs. Came back against Oakland, 6 shutout innings. Next start against the Nationals, 5 innings, 4 earned runs he gave up. And then he's coming off a great outing against the Rays, 6 innings, 1 earned run. So, I mean, it seems like that this might be a bad spot here going into Yankee Stadium, obviously with, the short porch in right field. So I think there could be runs being put up in this game. So I feel like this number 8.5 right now is a little bit conservative. Wouldn't be surprised if it does get to 9 by the time we get to game time here between the Braves and the Yankees. So first 5 over as well, full game over as well. I know you probably know this, that the Yankees bullpen has been struggling to say the least. So yeah, I do expect to see runs in this game between the Braves and the Yankees. Next game on the schedule, 2 games left here. We'll go over to a 7:15 Eastern start time. We've got the Milwaukee Brewers. They are in San Diego to take on the Padres. Starters for this game are going to be Carlos Rodriguez for the Milwaukee Brewers, and be Randy Vasquez for the San Diego Padres. Don't see a money line for this game. Let me double check another book here.
I see Padres -120. Brewers are even.
Okay. Yeah. And then I see 8.5 as the total in this game here. Scott, what are you thinking here? Brewers and Padres.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the first 5 over in the start. Do I think Vasquez is good? No. I think Rodriguez is good? No. He's young. He's figuring it out. But so far this season, he has a whip of 1.92. An ERA of 6.48. Vasquez has pitched 42 2/3, so larger sample size. He's allowed 63 hits in 42 2/3. Yeah. So I just see a lot of runs early in this game. Give me the first 5 over.
Yeah, something similar to I think what we saw on Thursday night. If you're watching the game, they scored, I think, 5 runs in the first 5 innings. Sorry, 5 runs in the first inning, where the Padres had a 4-1 lead. And it was against pitchers that just were not doing very well, especially for the Milwaukee Brewers. And Vasquez has been a guy that I've really wanted to fade, and that's worked out pretty well, especially he's at least going to give you 3 earned runs that he's going to give up, because that's how much he's gave up in 4 of his last 5 starts. You mentioned the hits that he also gives up as well. Hasn't been very good. Just on the season overall, 5.70 ERA. Carlos Rodriguez has made 2 appearances thus far this season. He started 1 game, which I believe was against the Angels in his last start, but 6 earned runs.
That did not go well against the Angels.
So there might be another pitcher that, again, is probably going to give up walks here. And like you mentioned, he's a young guy, and I don't know, maybe the jitters are still there a little bit, but I think I could see a similar case where runs are going to be scored early, like you mentioned. So I think like that call about the first 5 over in this game. Going to be 4.5 with a total of 8.5 right now. So couldn't talk you off of that. I'm not interested in laying my money on either side in this game. But again, like Scott, you mentioned, we do expect to see runs being put up in this game. Last game that we do have a line for right now, it's going to be a 9:10 Eastern start time. The Washington Nationals, they are in Colorado to take on the Rockies. Mitchell Parker getting started here for the Nationals, and it'll be Cal Quantrill for the Colorado Rockies. Rockies, a slight home underdog, minus 105 on the money line, minus 115 for the Nationals. Total is set at, excuse me, sorry, 10.5 in this game here, Scott. What are your thoughts on the Nationals and the Rockies?
There's not much separating these teams, but I guess I'm going to lean to the Rockies. I'm just going to flip a coin and take plus money. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. Quantrill's been okay recently. He was not particularly good against the Dodgers early. I had the Dodgers team total under 3.5 in that game in the first 5, so I had to sweat that out. He gave up 3 runs in the first 2 innings, and then he gave up no runs the rest of the way. So he kind of settled in after that. Guys on base all the time, but he was fine for the most part, and Quantrill gave up no runs in his previous 2 starts combined. So I think Quantrill's actually been decent. Now, Parker's been good this season, a 3.06 ERA. However, he's going to be in Coors, which is an entirely new challenge, and I have to question how he's going to look in that environment. He's been worse on the road as well. Not bad, though, with a 3.75 ERA. I believe the Rockies have also been decent against left-handed pitching, but I want to quickly pull that up. The point is, I don't really see much separating these teams. I think Quantrill has been a serviceable starter. The issue is Colorado's bullpen is an absolute lost cause, which is a problem. But you're looking at the Nationals offensively, they've really cooled off. They've scored less than 5 runs in 5 straight games. They've scored less than 4 runs in 4 straight games. They've completely shut down offensively. Now, maybe a trip to Coors is going to help out with that. But I think Colorado can generate enough runs against this pitching staff in Coors to get the job done. So I don't see much separating these teams. I think this is a go-to-a-meeting game. If you bet it, then have fun. But don't be afraid to speak up if they call on you. But either way, I'll go with the Rockies at plus money in this one. Not much separating them, but Quantrill's been okay. That's good enough for me. I'll lean to the Rockies.
Yeah, I think we're starting to see runs being put up in Coors Field. I know early on in the season, obviously weather dependent and things like that. But I mean, like you mentioned, it's not something that I'm interested in this game as far as putting my money on either side here. I mean, you mentioned Mitchell Parker has been pretty good over his last couple starts here. Last 3 starts, in fact, against the Braves, the Tigers, and the Marlins. He's only allowed 3 earned runs in about, close to 20 innings. Close to 18 innings. But it's different when you're going into Coors Field, right? Just because I know, like we mentioned, it's a hitter's ballpark and the altitude. So we'll see how Mitchell Parker fares here. I'd lean with the Nationals here, but don't be surprised if you do see runs being put up in this game between these 2 teams. Mitchell Parker also has some issues with walks, right? I mean, there's going to be games where he doesn't give up any walks, but if you're patient at the plate, he'll give it up. He had 3 walks against the Tigers. He had 4 against the Guardians there. And you mentioned Cal Quantrill has been serviceable and better over the last couple seasons, at least this year as a starter for the Rockies as well. So yeah, I mean, I'd lean National side, lean over, but I'm not going to have any money on this game here.
I pulled it up. The Rockies rank 14th in OPS against lefties, so they're fine against the lefties.
All right. That is the last game that we do have lines for the Saturday card. So that's about 12 games for Saturday. Let's get into our lock and dog, and then we'll give out our home run picks for the Saturday card here. Scott, you want to lead us off?
Sure. Actually, you know what? No, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first here. For my lock, I will go to, I think it's a Guardians for you, man. Minus 120 with Ben Lively. We talked about Jose Berrios hasn't been very good on the road. But Ben Lively in 4 starts in Cleveland at home, 3-0 with a 1.90 ERA. I think that's good enough for me. Don't trust the Blue Jays offense. I think Guardians can tack on a couple early against the Blue Jays. And you also mentioned that the Guardians have the best bullpen. So when you have a solid starter and that type of bullpen behind them to back it up, they get out to a lead early. I think that could pretty much be the icing in this game for the Guardians to get the victory over the Blue Jays here. So right now I see a minus 120 currently over on FanDuel. I think DraftKings has a similar number, but again, obviously always shop around, get the best number because DraftKings has it at minus 135 right now. So you're saving 15 cents if you have access to FanDuel and if you're watching live right now. So Guardians minus 120 on the money line as my lock for my dog. Do like the Braves on the money line. I think that's in consideration here. You know what? I'm going to go with the Red Sox on the run line, minus 1.5 plus 130. Just fading Frankie Montas. I think Nick Pivetta can go along well here. You talked about the stolen bases that this Red Sox team, is getting. They have their power bats back. The rotation is, the batting lineup is healthy. I think Nick Pivetta could go along well here. Also, just the fact of fading Frankie Montas as well, where the Reds have lost 4 of the last 5 starts that he has made here. So I'll say with the hot team here, give me the Red Sox on the run line, minus 1.5 plus 130 as my dog here. Scott, what do you got?
All right, so for my lock, I think I am going to go with the Rocks. I'm not sure if I want to go for the team total or the money line, but I like how they've played. Just simply put, I think this team has been undervalued for a while. You look at the team roster and go, who the hell are these guys? And they're randomly all contributing. So I do like how the Red Sox have played. I'll go with the Red Sox on the money line there. Thought about the first 5 under with that Giants and Cardinals game at 4.5, but I see the wind's blowing out. It's also intimidating. We have full summer weather in pretty much every ballpark tomorrow. A lot of temperatures in the 90s, so kind of a heat wave going on, but that's kind of going to result in more runs in general. So I think I am going to stay away from that. Give me the Red Sox. I'll go with the money line in this game. The Reds, I acknowledge, have been dangerous at times offensively, but the Red Sox have been consistent. We saw them beat the Yankees in Yankee Stadium. We saw them win a series against the Yankees over the weekend in Fenway. We saw them sweep the Blue Jays. First time, by the way, this season, the Blue Jays got swept, which sounds surprising because they've underachieved, but they actually had not gotten swept all year, and the Red Sox pulled that off. They've just been really good. You mentioned Montas not being very good at home this season. The Reds' bullpen is always inconsistent and always a bit problematic down the stretch of games. I think the Red Sox have some value, and I think that looking at a minus 116 is pretty appealing. So give me the Red Sox money line at minus 116 as my lock. For my dog, I'm going to go with the player prop with no line on it, but I know it's going to be plus money. I mentioned before, Eflin never walks anybody. He's walked 1 guy in his last 7 starts combined. I remember last start, Eflin under half a walk against Atlanta was plus 160. It lost. He did walk a guy. But the point is, it's going to be a decent plus money price. I like it. Give me Eflin under half a walk at a pretty decent plus money price.
All right, there we go. Lock and dog in the books here. Let's get over to our home run picks for the Saturday games here, Scott. You have someone you want to give out here before I go?
Sure. Just to confirm, though, we don't have any betting odds for home runs yet, right? That's going to
be... And that's the tricky part for us is because we record a day early is that we don't have the lines out for the home run props. But definitely, again, the guys that we do give out, just make sure you shop around for the best odds. 'Cause obviously, it does vary from book to book, but yeah, our hands are a little bit tied because we do record a day earlier.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to the Red Sox, though. I think I'm going to double down because I am picking them to win the game, and I think we both agree with the temperatures and the overall weather. Right now, the projected weather is the wind blowing out to left field at about 10 miles per hour. Going to be about 96 degrees. Should be a solid game in general for home runs. The wind out to left makes me tempted to take O'Neill, but I think I am actually going to go with Devers. Devers has been really good historically against Montas. Now, he's no home runs, but he's 5 for 11 with 2 doubles. That's good enough for me. A 455 batting average, I think, is pretty appealing against the starting pitcher. So give me Devers. He's been a bit quiet lately. We've seen other guys homer. I think Devers wakes up in this series. Give me Devers to hit a home run in this game.
All right. I'm going to go over to that game between the Tigers and the White Sox. I'm going to go with Luis Roberts to hit a home run for the White Sox. And you take a look at what Luis Roberts has done in his career against Kenton Maeda. He's 3 for 12, but all 3 hits that he has against him have all left the yard. So I think that is a possibility here again. And you take a look at the 8 career starts for Maeda against the White Sox. He's allowed a home run, at least one home run in 7 of those 8 career starts. And like we mentioned earlier this season, where he did start against the White Sox team, allowed 3 home runs in that game. So I think it's an opportunity for Luis Roberts to get his 4th career home run against Ken Maeda in this game here. So I'll go with Luis Roberts Jr. Against Ken Maeda in this game against the Tigers and the White Sox. All right, that is going to wrap it up for this edition of the MLB Gambling Podcast. Scott, anything else you want to mention before we get out of here?
Not really. Got a busy night. Going to be busy with the WNBA show, having an episode at about 9 p.m. So check in for that. Going to have a tennis episode as well once more lines get posted. So I'm going to be busy tonight. Besides that, you got Stanley Cup action. Game 6. We might end up seeing a Game 7. Who knows? But I'll be watching that for part of it because, of course, I got the WNBA show in the middle of the game. Point is, though, looking forward to the games tomorrow. I'll probably post more stolen base stuff maybe on Twitter. And I'll do a YouTube play later as well. So stay tuned for that. But find me on Twitter at Reichel Radio.
Yeah, make sure you follow Scott on Twitter at Reichel Radio. You can follow me there as well at SportsNerd824. Make sure you guys subscribe to the MLB Gambling Podcast YouTube channel as well. And also follow us on Instagram at MLB_gambling_podcast on Instagram. We'll be back on Sunday evening to get you guys ready for the Monday game. So look out for us then. Till then, enjoy the games this weekend. Let's break these books off and let it ride.